Mario Strikers Battle League is launching in just under 2 weeks and gameplay footage is starting to reach the internet. So here is an overview of everything we know so far about the game. Let's start off with the characters. There are 10 playable characters that will be available on release. They are Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Peach, Yoshi, Toad, Rosalina, Wario, and Waluigi. It also seems like Critter is retiring from goalkeeping and Boom Boom is taking its place. Fans of the series are going to notice a distinct lack of notable characters like Daisy and Birdo, but Nintendo did announce that further characters and possible game modes are on the way in the future in the form of free DLC. Next, let's talk about character stats. Contrary to what you might think, Strength stat does not change anything about your passing ability or your shooting. The Strength stat only determines how much you can resist getting tackled. Characters with high strength are able to stun opponents for longer, and also not get knocked down if a weaker player hits them. The Speed stat is very self-explanatory, it just determines your run speed. As far as I know, it doesn't affect anything else. Your shooting stat determines how fast and hard your shots on goal are. A higher shooting stat means you are more likely to score a goal. Your passing stat will determine how fast the ball reaches your teammate. It also increases the distance that a through pass will go, but that is a technique I'll talk about in a second. And finally, your technique will determine any kind of timing-based mechanic, such as a perfect pass or a perfect charge shot. This also makes it much easier to hit the blue area in a Hyper Strike. Based on the gameplay I've seen so far, I personally think the most important stats are going to be speed and passing, but we'll see how the game turns out in the future. Now let's talk about how the actual game plays. Longtime fans of Super Mario Strikers will be delighted to find out that all of the core mechanics of the games are intact. You can tackle other players into the electric fence, you can lob pass into a bicycle kick, charge shots are more likely to go in the net, and there are perfect passes in order to get better shots on goal. There are some differences compared to the base game, so let's go over the minor changes followed by the brand new mechanics. Instead of simply being given an item as soon as you are hit without the ball or you do a charge shot, instead the crowd will throw team colored boxes onto the field for you to pick up. The boxes will stay on the field for a short amount of time and only your team can pick it up so long as you do not already have 2 items. Occasionally, rainbow-colored item boxes will spawn, where whatever team gets to it first will receive the item. The next minor change is to Hyper Strikes. Hyper Strikes are slightly different than Super Strikes were in the previous games. A Hyper Strike requires you to grab a charge orb that spawns on the field. If you grab this charge orb, your team will be energized for 20 seconds, where you can then use any of your teammates to do a Hyper Strike. Once you get to full charge shot, the mechanics for getting a Hyper Strike are the same as they were in previous games. Each character has a slightly different effect on their Hyper Strike. For example, Peach's Hyper Strike will make the goalkeeper fall in love and be stunned for a couple seconds, whereas Waluigi will spawn vines that stuns any opponents in between him and the goal. When you have a shot on goal, you can direct where the ball goes. If you hold away from the goal, you will get an upward shot. If you hold towards the goal, you get a low shot. If you hold up, you will shoot towards the top side of the goal. And if you hold down, you will shoot towards the bottom side of the goal. Also, there are perfect timings on everything. If you release the B button on a charge shot at the perfect time, you'll get a perfect charge shot. If you release the pass button on a one-time pass, you will get a perfect pass. If you dodge at the perfect time, you'll get a perfect dodge, which results in a speed boost. And if you release the charge on a charge tackle, you'll get a perfect tackle. You now have the ability to turn your passes into a skill shot called a through pass. This is what I talked about earlier when I said that the passing ability increases your distance on the through pass. And finally, the weirdest and definitely most new ability that you have in Super Mario Strikers Battle League is the team tackle, where you can tackle your own teammate into the opponent, which increases the distance and increases the stun duration that they feel when they get knocked down. Let's move on to some of the online features, starting with regular matchmaking. Of course, you can just do regular matchmaking. I think it is in tournament style with random people around the world. You can also play with 2 people on the same system online. Or if you're playing locally, you can play with up to 8 people, assuming that you have enough Joy-Cons. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of the online mode is the Strikers Club, where you can make a sort of like Call of Duty clan, but for Mario Strikers. As far as I can tell, this works a little bit like League mode in Splatoon, where you can make your team and your team can get points based on how much you win against other teams. The Strikers Club also has customizable options such as changing your uniforms and changing which style of pitch you play on. You can also decide to do 4v4 with your team against other strike clubs, and there's a season that resets every week or so. Your points at the end of the week determine what ranking you will get for the next season. I am extremely excited for this game mode, and I cannot wait to find more competitive players to join a strike club with. There is going to be an online test demo from June 3rd to June 5th. So make sure you get that downloaded and wait for your turn to play the game yourself. I will be playing this demo live on my Twitch channel. If you are interested, the link is in the description down below. Anyway, I am really looking forward to this game. I was a huge fan of Super Mario Strikers on the GameCube. I played it with my brother all the time. So finally getting a new series after Charged is a very welcome change to my Nintendo Switch library. Everything I've seen so far about how the game plays and the mechanics of the game makes it look extremely deep and a game that I will want to sink a lot of time into. Thank you all for watching the video, and happy striking.